Welcome back to Karma Chronicles. Before we start, if you believe kindness always finds its way back to the people who deserve it, hit that subscribe button right now. Every subscriber tells us to keep making these stories, and it genuinely motivates us to give you our best work. Now here's a question for you. What would you do if the quiet courier delivering your coffee and your files turned out to be the person who could end your career with a single signature? One executive in this story never asked himself that question. He should have, because the man he humiliated every single day for months was not who anyone believed him to be, and by the time the truth came out, it was already too late for him to fix what he had done. This is the story of a courier's uniform, a hidden identity, and the department manager whose quiet decency changed 3 lives forever. My name isn't important yet, so for now, just know that I'm the majority owner of a mid-sized logistics and consulting firm headquartered in Columbus, Ohio. I'm a white American in my 50s, born and raised in a working-class neighborhood outside of Cleveland, and I built this company from almost nothing, starting in a rented office with 3 employees and a used delivery van. Over the years, I stopped being a face anyone recognized. New hires didn't know what I looked like. Old friends who still worked there had long since moved on to other departments or other companies entirely. That anonymity gave me an idea I couldn't shake. I wanted to know what my company actually felt like from the bottom looking up. Not the version presented in quarterly reports or leadership retreats, but the real, unfiltered version experienced by the people nobody in a boardroom ever thinks about. I had read enough polished internal surveys to know they told me almost nothing true. If I wanted honesty, I was going to have to go find it myself in person without anyone knowing who I was. So I created a fake employment history, dressed in a plain courier's uniform, and took an internal mailroom position delivering documents, coffee, and packages between departments. For 5 months, I was invisible on purpose. I watched, I listened, and what I found taught me more about my own company than a decade of executive meetings ever had. There was one department head who made it his personal mission to remind me of my place. His name was Connor McAllister, a sharp-dressed executive originally from Vancouver, British Columbia, who had grown up in a comfortable household near the city's waterfront before studying business at a university back home and eventually transferring to our Columbus office 3 years earlier to lead regional operations. He spoke often about his upbringing, about private schools and family connections that had opened doors for him long before he ever earned anything on his own. Everyone respected his numbers. Almost no one respected how he got there. Connor would toss folders onto my desk instead of handing them to me. He'd interrupt me mid-sentence in front of coworkers just to make a point about hierarchy. Once, in a hallway full of witnesses, he told me, "People like you never move up in life, so don't bother trying." He said it with a smile like it was a joke everyone was supposed to laugh at. Nobody laughed, but nobody stopped him either, except one person. His name was Andre Whitfield, a department manager who had grown up in Atlanta, Georgia, the son of a postal worker and a schoolteacher, before working his way through a state university on a partial scholarship and eventually building a career in operations management from the ground up. He had started at our company a decade earlier as an entry-level associate and earned every promotion since then through consistent, unglamorous performance. Andre wasn't the loudest person in any room. He didn't need to be. Every single time he witnessed Connor's behavior toward me, he intervened. He'd calmly redirect the conversation, remind Connor that everyone on the floor deserved basic respect, and then privately thank me for my work like I was any other professional walking those halls. In meetings where my name came up dismissively, Andre corrected people. He never made it a performance. He just refused to let cruelty go unanswered. He had no idea who I really was. To him, I was simply a courier having a hard time at work. That made what he did even more remarkable, because there was absolutely nothing in it for him except the risk of Connor's resentment. I want you to sit with that for a second, because this is the heart of the story. Andre wasn't protecting a friend. He wasn't protecting someone who could return the favor someday. As far as he knew, he was standing up for a low-level employee with zero influence over his career, his bonus, or his future at the company. He did it anyway. He'd pull out a chair for me during shared break room hours when other managers pretended not to see me. He learned my coffee order without being asked twice. Small things, sure, But small things done consistently over months start to look a lot like character. Meanwhile, Connor's treatment of me only grew colder, as if my continued presence personally offended him. I kept notes, not out of resentment, but because I already knew this experiment would end with a decision, and I wanted the facts, not just my gut feeling, to guide it. Then, about 4 months into my time undercover, I overheard something in the break room that stopped me completely. Andre's wife, Denise, had been diagnosed with kidney failure. She needed a transplant, and soon, or her condition would become life-threatening. I later learned the family had already sold what savings they had and taken out loans just to cover initial treatment costs. And they still couldn't afford the surgery itself, let alone the recovery and rehabilitation that would follow. Andre never told anyone at the office. He never asked for sympathy, never requested special treatment, never let his performance slip in a way that would draw attention. He kept showing up, kept doing his job well, and kept treating people, myself included, with the same steady respect he always had. If I hadn't overheard 2 co-workers speaking quietly near the elevator, I would never have known it all. That's when I realized this wasn't just a story about workplace kindness anymore. This was about a man carrying an unbearable weight in complete silence. I spent the next several weeks quietly gathering everything I needed. I reviewed HR complaints filed against Connor that had mysteriously gone nowhere. I reviewed performance records showing Andre had consistently exceeded his targets while managing a team that genuinely respected him. I compared how each man treated people who had absolutely no power over them, because in my experience, that's the only test of character that actually matters. The results weren't close. Connor's file, once I finally had full access to it, revealed a pattern going back years. Multiple employees had quietly left the company after working under him. 2 formal complaints had been filed and quietly buried by a regional HR representative who, it turned out, golfed with Connor on weekends. Andre's file, in contrast, showed a manager who had personally mentored 6 employees into promotions, none of whom knew that his own household was in crisis the entire time. On a Tuesday afternoon, I asked Andre to come to the executive floor, a place he had likely visited only a handful of times in his career there. He looked nervous walking in, unsure whether he was in trouble. I told him who I actually was. I watched the color drain from his face as it slowly registered that the quiet courier he had defended for months was the majority owner of the entire company. He asked me, almost in a whisper, why I had done any of this. I told him the truth. I said, I needed to see who this company really was when nobody was watching. You showed me exactly who it should be. Then I told him what I had decided. He was being promoted to executive director, effective immediately, with a salary that reflected the responsibility and the character he had already been carrying for years without the title. The company would also be covering every remaining medical expense for Denise's transplant, her rehabilitation, and her long-term follow-up care, in full. Connor's situation resolved very differently. Once the buried HR complaints resurfaced alongside my own documented observations, an internal review was opened. It didn't take long. Within 3 weeks, Connor McAllister was quietly let go from the company, with the review citing a sustained pattern of abusive conduct towards staff. He didn't get a public confrontation or a dramatic scene. He simply stopped showing up one Monday morning, and a brief internal memo explained that leadership had made a change in regional operations. Most employees understood exactly what that meant without needing it spelled out. Denise's transplant surgery took place 6 weeks later. It was successful, and her recovery, supported by resources the family had never dared to imagine having access to, went smoothly. Andre stepped into his new role and became known throughout the company as one of its most respected leaders, someone junior employees specifically requested to be mentored by. I think about this story more than almost anything else from my years running that company. It taught everyone involved something they haven't forgotten. Kindness costs you nothing when the person receiving it has power. It only means something when you offer it to someone who, as far as you know, has nothing to give back. Andre never knew he was being watched. He just knew how he wanted to treat people, and he stayed consistent with that even while quietly carrying one of the hardest chapters of his own life. That consistency is what changed his family's future. You never really know who's paying attention to the way you treat people, or whose life you might be changing simply by choosing decency when it costs you something. If the story moved you, please subscribe to Karma Chronicles. Every subscription genuinely motivates our team to keep finding and sharing stories like this one. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.